Good morning. It is Tuesday. What are we? April 4th today. May the 4th be with you. Happy Star Wars Day. I am Ben Weir with Octal 7, and we're going to go through a little bit of AutoCAD again today, just some custom commands that I have on the technical preview, again available on the download page at www.octal7.com. Feel free to download these. There are a couple of bugs, of course, and being a technical preview, kind of working out some of the development there, but always interested in hearing feedback from the drafting and CAD community in terms of what works, what doesn't work, what might fit to your workflows, what you might find interesting or whatever that I have for workflows. Anyways, let's jump over to our AutoCAD. Actually, just before we do that, I'm just going to go through the one command today, but going to kind of show some of the different functionality within it. And I know there is a bug in here with a zero value, which I intend to correct at some point here. I just haven't gotten around to it. But this is kind of inspired by some old technology dealing with 3D modeling and such, and making essentially cityscapes or spaceships and that sort of stuff. And what am I talking about? I'm talking about greebling. And if you follow Props to History at all, he's been talking about greebling lately, and I thought, hey, I have this command in AutoCAD for greebling a surface essentially, and I thought I'd use that for today's topic. And so this is essentially designed to greeble a surface for a cityscape, but it could be used for other sorts of landscapes as well. And some of the examples that I go through here might be a little bit reminiscent of maybe a Superman or like Krypton world, right? Or the Superman, what was it? I'm drawing a blank now on the name, the Chamber of Solitude or something like that, I want to say, but I think I've got the name wrong there. Anyways, let's cut over to AutoCAD. And let's see here. What we need to do to start with is draw a polyline. So this could be something like just some free form, whatever, random polyline, or it could be just a rectangle, or we could do the polygon command, and let's say 8 sides, and let's just do inscribed, and let's draw another one here, circumscribed. So we've got a couple of polygons or polylines there, and I'm just going to rotate our view here so we can see what's happening. So the command that I've been talking about here is GREEBLEEXTRUDE, and we just give it a selection set. So select our closed polylines. They have to be closed or it's not going to work for us here, and hit enter to accept that. Now specify a height here. You can click a distance or specify an exact value if we like. So let's just say 800. And then the maximum here, let's say 1000. And specify the taper height. So I'm just going to give this, let's go with 20 here. And we can see that it extrudes that and creates kind of a chamfered or beveled edge on these guys. Let's just go to conceptual so you can see that a little bit better there. All right, let's back that up here quick. Switch back to that conceptual. And GREEBLEEXTRUDE. Go with 500 and 1000 here. Oops, that was 100. Let's redo that. Previous selection. 500 for the minimum, 1000 for the maximum. And that taper height, let's give it 100 this time, just so you can see more of a bevel on there. So you can see how it just extrudes that and chamfers off the edge, or bevels the edge essentially. Let's back that up here. And let's just flip back to the top. Let's draw in an ordinary rectangle here. And let's do Greeble Extrude. And let's go with that 500 and 1000 again here. And so instead of this taper height, we can give it a couple of options in here. There is the roof and there's the slice. So if we do the roof, it's going to ask for an offset value. So let's just go with, I think 50 will probably work. Let's maybe do 100, a little bit bigger. There we are. So we can see that it extrudes those objects, and it creates kind of a roof or a peaked top there for us, right? And so these are all one solid, like we end up with each extruded object being its own individual. The roofs are attached, or should be attached to them. So that's one way to create some quick 3D geometry. And you can see here that everything's gotten a unique height to it based on that minimum and maximum value. And if I delete those, you can see there's still the originals there, right? So let's do that Greeble Extrude again. And let's stick with the 500 and 1000 here, kind of liking those values today. And we see that other option in here for the slice. So let's do slice, and it just arbitrarily assigns some sort of random angle to it. There's a bit of a rule in there on the slice angle. I'm not going to get into it at the moment, but essentially my rule. So that's a couple of the options in this Greeble Extrude. And so let's fly over here to this Crystal Pillars sample file I have. And this is one of the sample files I created for building and testing this command. So in the drawing here, I have a number of polylines. They are all closed. There is a circle in here as well. Let me just double check. I have actually turned it into a polyline there. So everything is a closed polyline. And you will notice here that some of them are off at other angles as well, meaning that I've changed or realigned the UCS that they're sitting on. So again, testing some of the functionality in this command, it should in theory work with any polyline that is aligned or rotated to some other UCS, right? So if we look here, what I'm talking about, something like this guy here, right? It's been moved off into another UCS where it's not planar like these other guys, right? So when I do the Greeble Extrude, and I'm just going to say all here to select everything. Not going to see anything really change much in this top view, but we are in conceptual, so we will notice something a little bit. But in our other view over here, we should notice a lot more, right? Seeing that we're in some sort of perspective view there. All right, so let's end that selection, hit enter. And let's go with a height here of what looks good, maybe 300 for that minimum, and let's go with 600 for the maximum, and let's do a taper height of 0 here. There we are. So it didn't put on that bevel or anything, but you can see all the objects have been extruded. They've all been projected essentially in the same direction as the UCS that they are drawn on, right? So following the normal for that polyline. And we can orbit around here. We can see everything generated at random heights here. A little bit too uniform with some of these and their random heights or whatever. That might be okay. Maybe you want more randomness or whatever. I kind of like the way the algorithm's working at the moment. But I might add in some other options to make more random height or whatever with those. So this is kind of reminds me of that Superman lair, right? Fortress's Solitude, that's what it was, I believe, right? The Fortress's Solitude there for Superman. Kind of reminds me of that sort of greebling that they had for that structure and some of the Superman movies where you see like the crystals or whatever, those sorts of stuff, right? So let's have a look here at our AutoCAD. So I'm just going to jump over to another sample file here. So here is the results of one of my extrusions with the greebling. This is some custom work in here as well, but let's just have a little look here. Kind of creating a random cityscape, right? Let's maybe change this visual style. That shaded isn't working or looking so nice. But we can see here kind of a fictitious cityscape here. So this was drawn in, I'll show you in a moment here, the base file. And this is one of those things where I'm kind of working on some of the randomness of the heights, but you can see this, what was generated here. Some of the buildings are kind of, or pretty uniform, right? Where I'd probably like to have a little bit more random heights in some of these. So this is just one generation of using the command here. So let's jump over to the base file that I used to build that. And you can see here that I've got some existing 3D objects in here. Change that to conceptual. And I'm just going to pause a second. All right, so we have all these polylines here. And we've got some 3D objects that I built in automatically, or sorry, just on my own or whatever. I wanted some structures built in a specific manner, so I just did them manually. But otherwise, we just have kind of this grid representing the roads and the streets there. And I put in some areas here to represent kind of like park spaces and sidewalks and such, that sort of thing. And there's that cylindrical tower there, but in this file here, I extruded this manually. Of course, I built that manually, but that's something I might be looking into building into the algorithm for this command, is being able to do more sophisticated structures like that, and something like towers or spires, right? All right, so let's just select all these guys. I'm just going to do select similar. So it should grab all the polylines there for me. And when I do the GREEBLEEXTRUDE and just do previous for that selection, I don't have it worked in just yet with honoring the pick first selection, but that will be, again, one of the things to improve or implement with the command here when I have a chance. So at the moment, I'm just using the pick or select previous selection. So that's what that P is on the command line. Hit enter, it should grab those polylines there for me. And so let's see, I can't remember the values I was working with now here. I think I was doing something like 40 and 80 or something for my minimum and maximums. And the height let's just give the taper 5 for this example here. And you can see that it goes through and populates the city then essentially there for us, right? So we end up with all these kind of random looking buildings. Like to be able to randomize a little bit with some of that beveling on the structures as well. So again, these are pretty uniform looking with those caps there, right? You can see that it created that kind of a pseudo tower there, but I'd like to work in a little bit more functionality or intelligence with building building something that looks a little bit more like a tower, like what I did over in this one where I just did it manually. All right, so let's undo that and just let's play around here a little bit. So Greeble extrude, I'm just going to say all, should just grab all the polylines here, hit enter, and what did I say, 40 and 80 for those values. And so let's do that slice option here just to see what that looks like. And you can see there it generates those random slices there. Very sharp looking. Don't want to step on that like stepping on a Lego brick, right? Let's just back that up and Greeble extrude. Let's go with 40 and 60. I'm just going to reduce that height there a bit, and I'm going to do the roof here. Now, typically doing something like the roof here, you wouldn't want to have these bases or these footprints, right? The ones that I have right now, they're all touching, right? They're all butted up right next to each other. So doing something like the roof, because it has that offset, you typically want to have a little bit of an offset between those footprints, right? Again, this might be something I work into it where it does the opposite offset. So right now it offsets outside of that footprint. I might change that or whatever so that it'll offset inside, and then you wouldn't have to worry about manually creating those sorts of buffers or things of that nature. But if you find that would be a useful option in the command, let me know, and I'd definitely put it on my priority list there. So let's just switch back to AutoCAD here and do that roof, and let's say offset of 20, and this is where you can see, right? So having the offset to the outside, everything ends up interfering with one another, right? And that might be okay if you're trying to create something like maybe a tree canopy with this effect, but in this sort of case, it's not so useful, right? Does create some interesting looking pyramid structures though. Could maybe union everything together. Union it all together, create one solid object, right? So let's just undo that. And let's just end this on doing Greeble, extrude, all, and let's do 40 and 50, and let's say 0 on that taper. And there you can see we've got all our blocks. Again, the randomness isn't quite as random as I would like just yet for doing something like this with that zero taper. So I need to actually that's one of the things with this command that I do have high on my to-do list to fix that, so I get a little bit better randomness with the heights with each of these blocks rather than them being so uniform. But anyways, again, if you like, you can go download this on the website www.octal7.com and download the go to the downloads page, look for the AutoCAD technical preview there. You can download the tools. There's some basic instructions on how to load this into your AutoCAD using a Lisp file there, and your startup suite. There are some more sophisticated means, but for the technical preview, I didn't want to get too fancy or whatever with some of the loading. So I'm going to leave it there. Again, my name is Ben Weir with Octal 7. I hope you enjoyed this little session here on some of the custom AutoCAD commands that I have. Really just looking at the one today. And drop me a note if you do see something that you'd like to have in your workflow, or if you do have a workflow that you would potentially like some custom commands created. Let me know. I'd be interested in helping you out however I can. Anyways, thanks again. Have a great day.